Hey, Damien, doing a sound check. Can you give me something back?
Check, check. I can hear you.
I got you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Hello, Mr. James. Are you able to hear me on your end?
Yep, I'm here, loud and clear. Thanks.
Excellent. Hear you as well. Thank you. Hello, Dr. Vink. Can you hear me on your end?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry if that was too loud. The time is 6:15. And I'd like to call our regular session board meeting to order. Welcome, everyone, both in person and watching via live stream. Let's begin with our tribute. In partnership with tribes who called Phoenix their home first, we acknowledge and respect the land our schools are built on. We commit to being a strong partner with any and all tribal nations who entrust their children to our schools. We are grateful and honored to be partners. Ms. Miriam, may we please have a roll call for attendance, please?
Carmen Trujillo,
Here.
Reggie Carrillo,
Here.
Alicia Vink,
Here.
Jessica Bueno, Laura Diaz.
All right, with that, we do have a quorum present and we are able to proceed. Ms. Bueno is not able to join us tonight. She isn't feeling well, so we wish her well. And Dr. Diaz, I believe, is just having some technical difficulties with her online approach. So with that, we'll move on. May we please have our Pledge of Allegiance, Dr. Weeks?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the governing board, I would be happy to lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, everyone. With that, Dr. Weeks, do you have any recommendations for our agenda this evening?
No, Madam Chair, I do not. The agenda looks good.
Wonderful. Rest of the board, do we have a motion to approve our agenda as presented?
Reggie Carrillo, I motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Alicia Vink, second.
Thank you, Dr. Vink. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, may we please have a roll call vote to approve our agenda, Ms. Miriam?
Carmen Trujillo,
Aye.
Reggie Carrillo,
Aye.
Alicia Vink,
Aye.
Laura Diaz.
Thank you. With that, our motion passes and we will move on to our awards, recognition and announcements. Dr. Week, do you want to give us a start or do you want me to go ahead and start?
No, please go ahead, Madam Chair.
All right. Our first one this evening is that Faith North Early Childhood Center received $225,000 for a childhood stabilization grant from the Arizona Department of Economic Security, Division of Child Care. The grant funding will be used to hire additional staff, substitutes, recruitment and retention strategies, and professional development. Congratulations to Faith North Preschool for writing and securing additional funding that directly benefits our preschool program.
Yay. Congratulations once again to Herd's Team Viking Farmers for receiving another award in the Teens Make Health Happen for their Project Health Garden initiative. After review of the top pitches, the National Project Health Showcases presenting sponsor, USANA USANA Health Sciences Community selected Team Viking Farmers as a recipient of the USANA Choice Award. In total, the team has received $2,600 in funding to go towards the school's garden project. Way to go, Team Viking Farmers. Good job. Great job, Herd. On Thursday, June 16th, school front office staff and district office clerical staff participated in a full-day customer service training. Participants learned that a positive attitude is the first step in developing strong relationships with those that we serve. We also reviewed why customer service is important for schools and districts, what research says about connecting with customers, what school customers expect, the importance of first impressions, and much more. Our office staff, otherwise known as Phoenix One's Customer Care Leaders in Action, again, that's Phoenix One's Customer Care Leaders in Action, created a customer care pledge and standards that will be shared that will be shared and turned into posters and displayed in all front offices, classrooms, departments, school buses, and throughout the district. We look forward to sharing the finalized pledge and posters in the near future. And really quickly, I'm going to add another announcement. I also want to announce really quickly the summer showing of The Wiz this Saturday. This is a production put on by our Dunbar School student community and Gal Patch, who is hosting in partnership with Dunbar for the AZ On Track Summer Camp program. It'll be this July 2nd. So this Saturday, July 2nd at 5 p.m. We have our very own Diana Ross who will be singing. Dr. Gonzalez and I had the pleasure of catching a small snippet of the production this past Tuesday at Dunbar. And the small portion that we did see was magical. So I can only imagine what Saturday is going to look like. I hope they record it. I won't be able to attend, but if you can attend, please do so. It was just, we walked in and it was a musical already happening in there. So please go if you can. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll try to make that, Mr. Carrillo. For our last one, last week, Dr. Weeks and Paloma Orozco received a generous donation of 720 Spanish textbooks for first and sixth grade students from the Mexican consulate. The Phoenix #1 Family Center and each school site will engage families with these collections in ways that are linked to learning, celebrate cultural identity, and strengthen bilingual language skills. Sincere thanks to Mexico's Ministry of Public Education, Consul General Jorge Mendoza Yescas, Rocio Rodriguez Echeverria, the Consul of Cultural Community and Academic Affairs, as well as Reina Montoya, founder and CEO of Aliento. We look forward to collaborating with the Mexican consulate in the future. Anything further, Dr. Weeks?
No, other than the consulate folks were very nice. Going to an international consulate can be a little intimidating at first, but they made it easy, and they're committed to public education in our communities. So it's exciting. I look forward to see how this partnership pans out.
Likewise. Well, we can move. Is there going to be anything for our superintendent's report this evening? Anything impromptu?
Madam Chair, members of the board, it's really my last governing board meeting as superintendent of Phoenix Elementary. It's my opportunity to say goodbye again. I've said goodbye just about everybody, but to the community, I think it's vitally important for them to know, for you to know as the community, how much I have appreciated the honor of being the superintendent Phoenix Elementary School District. The support that the district receives has been overwhelming over this past decade. And I can't wait to see what the future brings. The world is a very different place today than it was a decade ago when I came into the district. And our resilience and resolve and our commitment to all kids in public education requires strength, and it requires community. And I believe our community and our district collaboratively are going to do great things. But it's been my honor and my pleasure to serve the kids, the community, the staff. I've worked with some great board members, including you all here tonight. And it's really been a lot of fun. I rode into this district on two wheels. And I was a little bit of a different person than I am today. But I would not have traded a minute of my time at Phoenix Elementary for the world. So thank you everyone for giving me this opportunity to serve.
Ditto. Thank you.
And that concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Well, the feeling is mutual. With that, we will move on to community communications. Ms. Miriam, do we have any electronic?
We have two.
Alrighty. At this time, the board will hear comments from members of the public who've submitted requests to address the board. Each speaker will be provided 3 minutes to share for this meeting, and this allotment is decided based on the number of comments we receive or audience member who have turned in a comment card. Please note that the governing board are not, thank you. is not permitted to discuss or take legal action on matters raised during the call for public comment or that are not specifically on our agenda. Therefore, actions taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study different matters or rescheduling items for further consideration on a later agenda. With that, I am ready when you are, Miss Miriam.
Okay. The first one is from Anthony Pratcher, Shaw Montessori parent. I am not in town, but want to make sure my voice is heard. We need to do whatever we can to make sure all students in the district can access after-school care. Nothing against Girls and Boys Club. It is not PESD. For a magnet school like Shaw, our students need to be able to remain on campus because that is where they make community. It's critics that we do not outsource this program to other entities. I want my child to be at Shaw for his aftercare because that is where the rest of his classmates will be. Please make this happen in the fall. Thanks again. Number 2, from Mary Bankhead Sheets, a parent. Dear District Governing Board, I am a parent of a rising 3rd grade student at Shaw Montessori. First, I want to thank Governing Board Member Carrillo again for adding peer on tonight's agenda. Second, I want to thank Superintendent Weeks and District HR Director Diaz again for their willingness to further investigate peer. In reading tonight's agenda and attachments, I can see the peer PDF says that summer peer ends at 6 p.m. That is not the case for this summer, as it is 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Because of that 1 hour reduction, working families like mine who were eligible for summer peer were not able to use this most needed service. Having a program that mirrors many working families' working hours does not help. Will the district please reinstate summer peer moving forward to be 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.? The PDF also shares that peer is licensed by AZDHS and that determines the staffing pattern. What are the benefits to being licensed versus not? Additionally, the peer PDF presentation does not include actual tangible steps that can be addressed in the short time frame before school starts in a month. We are at crunch time and families are making enrollment decisions soon, mine included. I do hope that my questions will be answered in the peer presentation. August will be here in 1 month and 1 day, and many families, mine included, are desperate for something to happen with and for peer. We need help. The lack of peer is one of the reasons many families are transferring out of PESD1. As much as we love PESD1 and our daughter is thriving at Shaw, without peer, we have no choice but to leave the district for another one with more stable after-school programs. Warmly, Mary Bankhead. And that's it.
Thank you, Miss Miriam. And thank you to our 2 members of the public that reached out to the board. With that, let's move on to item D, our consent agenda. And thank you, Mr. Carrillo, for keeping time for me. Let's see. All right, it's a pretty long one. Any recommendations regarding our consent agenda from anyone?
I would like to, let me know what to do, bring item 10 up for discussion. Request approval memorandum of understanding between Phoenix L and All Education.
I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Regarding All in Ed. So with that, maybe we do a motion to approve our agenda and then we have a discussion about it. That's my thinking on it. Is that all right with you, Mr. Carrillo? Or, okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Do we have a motion to approve our consent agenda as presented?
Reggie Carrillo, motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Alicia Finkel, second.
Thank you, Dr. Vink. May we please have a roll call vote, Ms. Miriam, to approve our consent? Oh, this is where our discussion part comes in, right? My apologies. I'm following my script a little too close. Okay, regarding the All in Ed MOU, did you have some questions on it?
Yeah, I want to know what the status is. I know this is we're re-signing the MOU with All in Education, so I want to know what progress has been done last year And if, yeah, what is the impact of the program if we've started it? If not, why not?
I'll let Mr. Quintana go before I do.
Okay, yes, Mr. Trujillo, good evening, governing board members. Dr. Diaz, can you give us an update on what transpired, how this started last year and how we're executing, this year's program?
Yes, Mr. Quintana, President, members of the board, members of the community. Thank you for letting me to zoom in with the change of the date of the board meeting. Unfortunately, I had a conflict this evening. In terms of the state of the partnership with All in Education, the family and community engagement coordinator position is the position that was really the linchpin for this. When we went into the original memo of understanding, that position didn't exist. And as we all know, the 21-22 school year was one where folks operated at a very high capacity, taking on a lot of different tasks, and some of these more innovative partnerships did not rise to the forefront the way that we would have hoped to. With that position in place, we now have the critical piece that was missing to really leverage the full impact of this. Unfortunately, we are turning over the leadership in that position, but we are hopeful we'll have somebody in that position before the end of the month that will pick up this ball and run with it. And maximize this program at 2 of our campuses next year. We're looking at both the Garfield community as well as the Edison communities as ones where we'll be able to engage with family members through partnership with All in Education in ways that are certainly exciting for everybody.
Thank you. In terms of the financial incentive, that's being paid out by All in Ed, or is that being paid out by us?
Mr. Carrillo, members of the board, yes, in the current memo of understanding mirrors the one that you all approved last year, where that financial commitment is coming from All in Education.
Okay, so as of right now, the program has not started then?
Mr. Carrillo, members of the board, the partnership has started, but in terms of having an actual participant of Phoenix Elementary in the Parent Academy, that is yet to have occurred.
Okay, do you know when they're going to start officially to recruit parents?
Yep. Mr. Carrillo, members of the board, the last communication we've had at All in Education was that they would be closing their offices until July 5th, taking a very well-deserved, well-needed vacation. With this memo standing in place, we can begin to put those things back on track. It is hopeful that in the fall semester, we'll be able to have family members who have the ability and have now the resources that they need to participate in the academy.
Okay, thank you. I just want an update. I will ask for more information in the board update. But I just want to know where we're at, and then, so thank you, but I'll follow up with the board update request. Thank you, Dr. Diaz.
Absolutely. We'll look forward to providing that.
Thank you. This is Carmen. I did speak to somebody at All in Ed, and they were just hoping to get the context. So this position that we're hoping to fill, is there maybe like a substitute for that person that could fill in to at least get some details or something going until we get that position filled, just so we at least have a timeline to try and attempt? That was my only question before we move on.
Madam President, members of the board and the community, during the transition, the principals of Garfield and Edison will be the primary contacts for All in Education. That will be communicated to All in Education as soon as the memo of understanding is enacted, and we're all back in the offices to move forward. Again, very hopeful that we will be able to not just fill this position, but really hire a top quality candidate before the end of July.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further discussion? Okay, now may we please have a roll call vote to approve our consent agenda, Ms. Miriam?
Carmen Trujillo,
Aye.
Reggie Carrillo,
Aye.
Alicia Vink,
Aye.
Laura Diaz.
I still don't see her logged on. Thank you very much. With that, our motion does pass. And we can move on to item E with our peer presentation. Dr. Gonzalez, who do we have the pleasure of listening to today?
Well, it is my great pleasure to introduce Mr. Curtis Johnson, who I'm going to tell something very interesting about him that I learned today. He was one of our first peer students when peer first started in Phoenix Elementary. So Mr. Johnson is the coordinator for our peer programs as well as our after-school programs. And so I'm going to ask him to share a little bit about the peer program.
Great, welcome. Thanks for being here, Mr. Johnson.
Great, thank you. Madam President, members of the board, cabinet, thank you for having me. As Dr. Gonzalez stated, my name is Curtis Johnson. I oversee our peer program here for the district. And I know there have been several concerns raised from our families about peer in previous board meetings. And my goal today is to hopefully answer those questions and to provide a little bit of insight and perspective as we approach the upcoming school year. Before I begin the presentation, I would like to assure our families that their voices have not gone unheard. I understand their frustration and their level of concern from several different perspectives. For one, as stated, I was a peer child myself from the very inception. My mother was a working parent, so I truly understand the need that she had for us to be, me and my brothers, to be a part of something in after school. So that way we could be looked after while she went to work. As a father of 3 children myself, my wife and I both work, so I understand the need as a parent to have after-school resources available for our families. And as a district employee for over 22 years, both in peer as a site-based school lead myself and now working at the district office, I understand the value and the impact and the need our families have to have a program like peer as a resource available to them. So again, their voices have not gone unheard, and I will do everything that I can to continue to provide some sort of solution to the staffing problem that we have. All right. So with that being said, why is our peer club important to the district? The program has been a pillar of our district for approximately 35 years, and it's been a huge catalyst for our district for enrollment. As far as I know, we are the only district that provides free after-school childcare, both during the school year and the summer, to working families grades K through 8 daily. The program is designed to be an extension of the school day by providing a safe, fun, and challenging learning environment through various planned activities and thematic-based units. And it's just reassuring to parents knowing that their kids are on campus after school in a structured after-school setting where they are safe until their parents are able to come pick them up. So student enrollment for next year. These numbers are quite staggering and they're quite heartbreaking, to be honest. I provided a table for each one of the schools in our district that provides after-school care. I provided the site capacity, the enrolled number for the upcoming school year, the percent filled along with the waiting list for each individual school. Take Herrera, for example, they have a site capacity of 120 students. They currently have 40 students enrolled for the upcoming school year, which is approximately 33% of that population filled, and we have 49 students on the wait list. Big picture, our district, when at full capacity in terms of staffing, we can accommodate 1,780 students. As of now, district-wide, we only have 440 students enrolled, which is about 25% of our allotted allocation for our program's capacity. And we have 453 students currently on the waiting list. As mentioned, we are licensed through DHS and the Office of Child Care Licensing, and we have to maintain a student to staff ratio of 20:1 in order to maintain compliance. Staffing for next year, very similar to the last table that you just saw. I specified the site capacity at each one of the locations. We have the number of staff required based off that student to staff ratio, the number of staff that we have hired coming back for next school year, and the number of vacant positions district-wide. Again, big picture, we should be able to accommodate 1,780 students. That has never been a problem with the exception of the past few years. That means that we would have to employ 89 staff district-wide in order to meet that capacity threshold. As it stands right now, I have approximately 21 staff returning for the upcoming school year, which means that we have 68 vacant positions in our program. I would like to add that if we had 68 qualified candidates walk in our door tomorrow and go through the interview process, we could hire 68 staff. The district has not cut any of these positions. The problem is we just simply cannot fill them. I would also like to add that no monies have been redirected to support any of our other programs from peer. So athletics, for example, falls under our peer umbrella. There's completely two separate entities. We do have the capacity to be able to fund both programs, and we have not taken any funds from our peer program to support our athletic program or any other program for that matter. I know there were some questions in regard to staff files and streamlining the process. How could we, expedite the process quicker so we didn't have such a delay in terms of when staff were able to start? So I wanted to clarify, each one of these bullets represents what we require in a staff member's file in order for them to work in a licensed child care facility. I know the district has their criteria in terms of what they expect staff to be able to provide and pass in order for them to work, such as a background check, et cetera. But here in peer, because we are licensed, we have additional items that staff members have to fulfill in order for them to be able to work in a licensed child care facility. I would say for the most part that staff generally can provide these documentations fairly quickly. I would say if in regards to a holdup in the hiring process, it really falls in line with the fingerprint application process. According to licensing rules, staff members are not able to begin working on site until their fingerprint clearance card has actually been issued. So until it's issued, they may not start working. And that process generally takes anywhere between 3 to 4 weeks for that to happen. There have been some cases, depending on how far back DPS is backed up, I have had some staff that have taken up to about 2 months, if not a little bit longer at some points throughout the year. Again, depending on how much DPS is backed up with expediting their processes.
Mr. Johnson, if I might make a quick comment.
Sure.
I have always had to hold my fingerprint clearance card, so it is imperative to follow all of these bullet points and everything. And you're right, no matter what, depending on how backed up the department is, you're just literally on standby. I couldn't do my job for a few weeks sometimes just
basically.
because you're waiting. And it's not because we did everything late or, you do these things, and it really just depends on how short-staffed they are or how backed up they are, or we're waiting for new technology. So I completely understand, and the state does require these trainings and everything, so that way everybody's safe around our kids. So
Correct.
I do understand the need to want to relax some of these things, but we also can't because of state licensing and because it is important that everybody have a full clearance check before they're around our kids. So
That's correct.
I'm really grateful you put all this in here because I kind of forgot about everything I had to do. So thank you.
Yes.
I'll be quiet.
Thank you. So in regards to staff pay rates, I know there was some question in regards to what we were actually paying our staff. So we have 3 different positions in peer. We have a peer aide 1, which is typically a staff member that's 18 years of age and has a high school diploma. We have a peer aide 4, which is a peer aide that has a high school diploma in addition to 60 college credit hours or an associate's degree. And then we have a peer lead. So I've placed their current rates of pay in regards to the threshold of where they may fall depending on their level of experience. And then we have the new increases in terms of what they'll be making. Thank you for the upcoming the month of July. One of the things that I would like to add here is the fact that in terms of being creative and trying to find ways to just get staff here, we have reached out to Phoenix Union, and we were able to capture maybe 5 or 6 students from their high school district. That is not something that we have generally ever done in the past. There are stipulations. They are not high school graduates just yet. They are likely under the age of 18. So although they can be included in our staff to student ratio, they may not hold a group on their own unsupervised. So we've had to be very strategic in terms of how we place them, where we place them, because we have to make sure that we have the supports in place for them to be able to be successful. Right? and for us to be able to manage that. So
Who did we reach out to at Phoenix Union?
I do not have the exact name, but I can be sure to get that to you.
Thank you. And then so if we can hire a student that's not a graduate, then how for the peer aid, is it a requirement that they have those college credit hours?
So what we have to do is we have to show proof that they are on schedule to graduate, and they have to provide their specific graduation date. And that typically comes by either a letter from their academic advisor showing exactly when they are going to graduate.
From the university or
Oh,
community
no,
college?
are you referring to high school students that are participating?
I'm
or-
talking about, which one of these was that they had to have their diploma plus a certain number of college credits?
Oh, correct. Yes, a peer aid 4. Yes.
Okay, and I'm saying, is that a requirement by the state that they have those college credits to be in that
In order
position?
for them to be given that rate of pay with our district. So all they need is to be 18 years old and have a high school diploma in order to be employed in our district
Hmm.
as a peer aid 1. In order for them to be put on a pay scale for a peer aid 4, they have to have those additional requirements in order for them to be placed at that pay scale.
Hmm. I'm asking because is it necessary that they have those college credits for this type of role for $15 an hour, for $16 an hour?
In order to receive that rate of pay per the way that the district pay scale is set up, yes. But according for them to be able to work in the program, no.
So the district's requiring that they have those college credits to get that, to be placed at that pay scale?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there something that we can do about that to make that process easier? Because I mean, I would love for anybody to be continuing their education, but for $15, $16 an hour, I don't think that's necessary.
And I can't say that I don't disagree with you.
Mhm. So I
Hold on.
guess the question is, what do we do to, again, when it comes to our community telling us, like, is there flexibility? Can we streamline the process? I understand that those requirements you mentioned are requirements, but like stuff like this, especially to give someone right out of high school that pay, if we could find flexibility with that, I would love it. I appreciate your efforts to do what you've
Absolutely.
done with Phoenix Union too.
Sure, I can work with Vic or Dr. Diaz to take a look at that.
Thank you.
So I know there were some concerns about or questions in regard to what other districts were offering in comparison to what we were offering as far as after-school childcare. So I had my recreational specialist, Alex Ramirez, call a few different districts to find out exactly what other districts were offering. So that way we could kind of see where we can gauge ourselves in terms of what they're offering versus what we're offering. So one of the schools that we reached out to was Madison School District, and they have what's called a MAC program. It's an on-site licensed DHS program. From the person that Alex spoke to, from our understanding, they were actually looking at eliminating their after-school program for the upcoming school year, but then their board decided to go ahead and stay with the program. The contact that we spoke to spoke specifically in regards to Madison #1, the middle school, and then Madison Heights, as those are the two biggest schools that they have. Madison, the middle school, grades 5 through 8, had 100 kids enrolled in their program for the upcoming year, and they had 16 kids on their waiting list. Madison Heights, grades K through 4, had 120 kids and 140 kids on their waiting list. It is a before and after school program. It's a fee-based program. It's $338 per month, 5 days a week. If parents elect to not go with the complete school year and they want to specify exact days they want their child to attend, it's $18.78 per day. There were sibling discounts offered and staff discounts offered in terms of rates of pay. There was a childcare attendant, which was $16 an hour, and then their supervisors averaged anywhere between $20 to $24 an hour.
And have we thought about implementing this fee or seeing what parents think about being able to pay this, especially those on the higher end of the socioeconomic spectrum?
We have had small discussions about fee-based programs versus a non-fee-based program. I don't have anything today in regards to share about that, but that is definitely something that we are looking into.
Yeah, please. I would just want to see how parents feel about that. Because we have the money to pay for that 68, for those 68 staff, in theory, right?
Correct.
Okay.
We also looked at Creighton, Washington, Osborne, Balls, Cartwright, Roosevelt, Wilson, and America Charter Schools. And they are all electing to use the PAC program, which is ran by the city of Phoenix. It's an on-site unlicensed program. The general average wait list within these schools or these PAC programs ranges anywhere between 20 to 60 kids. They are afternoon only until 6 p.m. and it's grades 1 through 8 that they make the program available for. It is a fee-based program. It's broken into 4 sessions and it averages anywhere between $30 to $50 per person per session. And the one disadvantage, I guess, if you will, in terms of being an unlicensed program, which is a liability for our district, is the fact that kids can come and go at their own volition. Staff rates of pay, they're averaging anywhere between about $15.55 an hour. And they did say that they were looking at proposing a 20% possible pay increase for their staff.
This is, the PAC program is, and who runs that program?
It's a City of Phoenix program.
City of Phoenix, you said? Okay. All right, thank you. I had a question, but it escaped, but I'll come back.
Okay. Alhambra, they were not offering any after-school programs with the exception of Alhambra Traditional, and they were going to utilize they were utilizing the PAC program, but through parent feedback and program review, they have decided not to continue with the program for the upcoming year, and they're exploring options for their families. Isaac, however, utilizes the Golden Gate Community Center and the Jerry Colangelo Boys and Girls Club branch located right next to Isaac.
My question came back, why are these other schools opting not to go possibly run the after-school programs? What are the issues? Do you know what the issues are that they're going through?
Very similar to us, staffing. It's hard to find staff right now. Even with pay increases, it's still hard to find staff. I was just having a conversation today. If anywhere you go, you see for hire signs, they're being more creative. There's so many different incentives being offered. It's hard to compete unless you're willing to really put yourself out there in terms of incentives being offered, tuition reimbursement, higher rates of pay, and really eliminate your competition. It becomes a fierce competition, if you will, to get people to be employed with us.
For a peer program, if we hire like a high school student or whoever we hire, the hours are from what again? From,
They're generally 2 to 6 with the exception of the early release on half days.
okay. And have we tried reaching out to community colleges? Or
Yes, so I do know that we do promote our programs at ASU, GCU, some of the community colleges. We have other vendors that we go through in terms of just general networking. But I do know that our peer staff, because they are, most of them in school themselves, they are our best catalyst there, or recruiter, if you will, to help us get staff here in our district.
Thank you.
So other programs that are being offered that aren't necessarily school-based programs, but potential options. One is being a Boys and Girls Club. Their capacities vary from site to site, depending on the number of staff they have hired. They are an unlicensed program and kids may come and go at their own volition. It's a $30 annual membership fee, $40 per child for the ages of 5 through 12. There's no monthly fee for students ages 13 through 18. There is a free summer program if they are enrolled during the school year. And they do have a few different positions that they offer, one being a youth development specialist at $15 an hour, and then their program directors are $19 an hour. And they are also potentially looking at increasing their staff rates of pay by 20%.
Do you know if we were to run an unlicensed program, would we get more students? Not even from our district, but like out of our district too?
So unlicensed programs don't necessarily have to abide by the same student to staff ratio, right? But we aren't dealing with certified teachers, if you will, that come to us, right? So one of the things that setting that standard as far as the 20-to-1 ratio, when we think about kids that it's their first job coming out of high school, it doesn't make the best sense or the best practice to put them in a classroom with 35 to 40 kids, right? So in terms of that student to staff ratio, by us being licensed, I realized that we could allow more kids to be able to participate with one staff, but we want to make sure that we don't diminish the value of our product. We want to make sure that our staff are well-trained enough to be able to work with smaller group settings, and that ratio really allows us to be able to do that.
Okay, and then with our program, it's only open to students that are in our district, right?
That is correct. Our program
Okay.
is only for students in our district.
Because I'm just thinking like, yes, I agree, we want student candidates who can handle that type of population, that group of students. But I also just interested, what are the benefits of these other programs in terms of the students we can possibly capture, and then the income we can possibly generate from these other programs.
The other program that we looked at was the YMCA. Again, capacity varies from site to site. The programs can be licensed or unlicensed or offered on-site at your school or off-site. They did have a wide variation in terms of services that they offer, whether it be before school, after school, or both. In terms of the monthly cost was very depending upon whether you were a YMC member or a non-member. They did have a few different positions available. There's a child watch attendant for $14 an hour, an after-school program counselor for about $14.50, and a teen program lead for $15 an hour.
So with these programs like the YMCA, those are hosted at the YMCA, or they're coming to our campuses to provide those services?
So with the YMCA, you do have the option of being able to transport kids to one of their locations on their site. And then we also have the option of being able to bring kids and they can facilitate a program on site at one of our schools.
Okay, and then for the peer program right now, or like this past year, we have it at every school, or we don't have it at every school right now?
We do have, well, the only school that did not have peer was Lowell. Other than that, we had peer being ran at each one of our locations on campus, with the exception of our preschool program at Faith North.
Oh, because I'm thinking like a hybrid model where maybe we have peer, but for the students that are on wait list, what does it look like if it's feasible to partner with these other, because YMCA is just down the street, to just support us with keeping those kids in school?
Yes,
Oh.
those are possible options. So in terms of next steps and what do we have in the works for our families, we will continue to maintain our outreach efforts with partners, ASU, GCU, community colleges, Phoenix Union, and we'll continue to work on building new relationships that'll benefit the district and our families. We'll continue to strategize on ways to be more competitive. We'll promote within our own district. As I mentioned earlier, our peer staff have always been the biggest recruiter for our program. And we also have the implementation of the community enrichment programs in our district that will include several vendors that have the ability to offer some services in the morning, potentially during the school day and after school. And there will be more information coming on those programs through our principals as we approach the school year.
Okay, thank you, that was great. I'm thinking of some community feedback from last time about, and I was here at the last meeting, so it kind of escapes me, is honoring the work of the peer staff through the pandemic. If anyone can expand on that comment, because I remember that, like the peer staff going through the pandemic, and then I don't know if it had to do with pay. It's something we could follow up with, but like that's something that, in terms of how our staff is treated.
Sure. I know that during the pandemic, we did not have the actual peer program. A lot of our peer staff were assigned to what were called the learning labs. So we were facilitating that program during the pandemic time.
Okay, I'll follow up with that.
To add on to this, I really was hoping to see or have a discussion on what the possibility would be for incentives or retention bonus or referral bonus for our employees that do bring in, since that's the main hub of where we get people. I would love to really see that appreciated and reinforced. Do we have any ideas or resources or where we could, partner with businesses to do gift cards or something? There's just wondering
Sure.
if that was part of the discussion at all.
So I don't have an answer for that, but I can work with Dr. Diaz to see what types of incentives can possibly be offered. I just don't know.
Excuse me, Madam President. I do know that our peer staff are eligible for our retention bonuses, both the $3,000 retention bonus for full-time peer leads, as well as the $1,500 for part-time peer employees. In addition to that, we do have the referral bonus if a staff member, not an administrator, but if a staff member refers somebody and we hire them, there's also a bonus available to them as well. It's a cash bonus.
Can we start pushing that like crazy? Because that's not just your $200 gift card I was thinking about. That's like a really decent, hefty thing to really scream and shout about, I think. So thank you, Dr. Gonzalez.
Is this something to, thank you, Dr. Gonzalez, that was good. Is this something in terms of the communications? I know we probably have a newsletter coming out in July, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Jeffries, but is that something that we can promote on there in terms of like an employment opportunity for our community? If the Phoenix one has not already been developed already?
Sure. Madam President, Mr. Carrillo, thank you for the question. We do have a newsletter that is coming out in July. It is currently in print. But we do have other opportunities where Dr. Diaz and I have been promoting many of our unfilled vacancies through our Facebook page. We just added small phrasing on all of our school marquees, and after school peer is one of those hard to fill positions that we have been promoting through those avenues. But in the future, we can certainly look at other opportunities where we can also promote through our new communication lines. The unfortunate thing about newsletters, depending on the timing, is the lead time from writing to production, printing, and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But we have some other things that we talked about during one of our prior board meetings where we can certainly look at other ways of promoting that.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir. Hello.
nice job, Curtis. Thank you, Linda. Have we thought about bus advertising? There's that section on the rear panel of the. Hello? Bus advertising to promote our recruitment efforts.
I like that idea a lot.
I think that's a great idea, Dr. Weeks. In terms of where our highest
Madam
demand,
Chair.
Dr. Vink?
Sorry. It's hard because I can't see your faces, so jumping in gets a little tricky. I just wanted to make a comment regarding the retention stipends. While I was sitting here, I did pull up our human resources job openings list online, and it does not say in the job descriptions anything about potential stipends or additional. Obviously, something that people would want to know that was something they could qualify for. And also Lowell, the only site that doesn't have a peer lead right now.
Thank you, Dr. Vink, for checking into that. I do appreciate your jumping in here like we're in the middle of a double Dutch session. So I appreciate it. Please don't stop doing it, and I'll be more mindful to pause more often. But thanks for checking into that. But what was the school site that you just mentioned?
Lowell, is that the only one that doesn't have a lead?
That's a question for you,
I
Mr.
couldn't
Johnson.
understand her. I'm sorry.
Is Lowell the only school that doesn't have a peer lead available?
Lowell
Or
and Kenilworth going
Lowell
into
and
the next school
Kenilworth?
year.
Like she's right here. Sorry, Dr. Vink, did you catch that?
well, at Lowell, there's not
Okay.
a,
So I I did. I'm only seeing Wool online. I know that we're going through a website transition too.
Got it. So maybe will Kenilworth be posted shortly
We
or?
may be having some audio struggles.
Can she type in the chat and we can read those comments? So in terms of the demand, there is a huge demand at, see, Kenilworth, where else? So I'm thinking in terms of a hybrid model, would that be feasible where there is a high demand at these schools? Like we're talking like Shaw, there's a 75 students on a wait list. And then Kenilworth, there's 57. The Herrera, there's 49. So I'm just thinking of like those schools with a high population that is on a wait list. Is there, I know there's a high demand, but is there also a high, is in terms of who's on the wait list? Is there, in terms of parents who are hearing from parents, is that who we're hearing from the most too, from those schools with the larger wait list pool?
I think most of the parents know that we're struggling to staff our program. And I have not received an overwhelming number of calls. I think our Shaw community has probably been the most vocal of all the schools. I do believe that our parents know that we are actively trying to solve this problem. This isn't a peer problem. This isn't just a district problem. This is a problem across the entire state, across the entire US. Everybody is struggling for staff.
Excuse me, Madam President. In terms of thinking about the hybrid programs, our community enrichment program offerings that were approved at a prior board meeting, the intent of that is to help to find surplus activities for students who can't get into peer. They would be eligible to participate in these programs. And again, because of ESSER, we're able to pay for that for the next 2 years at no cost for families to participate in that. It isn't intended to replace peer. We value peer and want it to be a mainstay of our program. And to Dr. Vink's comment about not advertising the potential of those retention stipends, those are short-term based on our ESSER funding. And that's part of the reason that those are not advertised in the job descriptions.
What are the reasons it can't be advertised since it's ESSER funds?
I think it's more a caution that it's not always going to be there. We don't want to give people a false sense of that that's always going to be an opportunity for them.
Got it. Well, we are reaping those, we're still licking those wounds for sure, but there's got to be somehow like a way to do a phone number or something to call and inquire to see what type, but so I assume we'll all start getting more creative on how we could do that, because I really think that's a shoo-in way to get young people, so especially if I would have told my daughter that, like, I wouldn't even probably have to help her apply like I normally do with other things, but I really do think that's a big deal for our community and the demographics that we serve. That's a really big nudge in the right direction. So whatever we can do to showcase that a little more, that it's there, would be ideal.
Would our community be okay with that? Like if we ran the peer programs, but just to capture that pool that is on a wait list, like partner with the YMCA, still bring them to our campus so those students are still captured and on our campus, are at a safe space like the parents want?
It could be a possibility. I know from the public comment that we heard earlier, that parent was specific about being a part of the actual peer program. They didn't want an outside entity coming in. So I think you'll have a combination of both pools of people, some that specifically want peer and some that are open to having another program on campus to be available as a secondary outlet.
Okay, because can we do a survey to see what the preference would be, like in terms of demand at each school site? Because I'm thinking like if Faith, okay, they all want peer, but maybe at Dunbar, where there is where we just came from, and they do have, I mean, they have one student, but they're close to Capital, are low. There's a 0 wait list, but we just partner with Galpatch, and like those are wonderful programs, after school programs, like, and those bring in students outside of our district too. And so I'm just thinking like, where is demand, and we can have peer and like staff that, and then other schools where we do have great community partners that are so embedded in the community, that are bringing students out, like that's what I'm thinking. Like, let's try to look at that option too.
Sure.
And Mr. Carrillo, that is part of the intention of the community enrichment program, that they are community programs run on the campus.
Mhm.
So it is available at no cost to students that reside within our district and attend our schools.
For peer or for Galpatch?
For peer and other community enrichment programs that were approved through the RFP that the
Okay,
board
okay.
approved about a month and a half ago.
Yeah, because again, like what we saw with Galpatch, what we saw with Emerson, like I would, if I had a kid, I would put my kid in those. Like those are wonderful programs that when I walked in, they were so engaging, and I'm sure like I would be proud to have those just continue working with those schools, not those partners, not just for the summer, but throughout the year.
Any other questions? Thank
So,
you.
well, so just to kind of go over like the what strategies what we have. I think so. We have. Can we go to those? Maintain outreach efforts with partners, continue strategy and ways to be more competitive, promote within our own district and community, word of mouth. I think one thing too is just to take a serious look is looking at a hybrid model too, and seeing who we can come in, where we can like strategically place those partners at which school sites, just to capture those students on a wait list and to capture students that are not even going to our schools, but that are in our district.
Okay.
And then also possibly a fee like the other programs are doing.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Carrillo.
you.
I've captured those.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I just had one last question. Can you still hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My question was, are parents who maybe wanted a part-time role, would they be able to have their elementary age, school age child attend the peer program while they worked?
So as a licensed entity, we cannot have kids in our program that are not part of our actual peer program. They would have to be old enough to be able to
Right,
volunteer.
but could we enroll those?
Darn, I think we lost you.
If it was a parent of a student in our district. Oh, did you lose me? Can you hear me now?
We can, yes, you're back.
Okay, I'm so sorry. If it was a parent of a student at their child and they could work.
I'm sorry, I can't make out the question. I apologize.
In the presentation, Dr. Vink, it notes that there's a 50% discount for staff. So she's wondering if a parent could work in our peer program, but if they have a student, if their child could attend the program while they worked. So my assumption was yes, because it says there was a staff discount, but I'm not.
So I can't speak on behalf of other districts. I think but I think what they're referring to is with a staff discount, like let's just say, for example, they had a staff member that was working in the program or a staff member that was a teacher, they would be eligible for a discount. I don't know. So for example, like if we had a staff member working in our program and they did not have a child enrolled in a school in our district for liability purposes, I don't know from a district standpoint whether or not they would be able to participate in the program. But I do know that they would have to be at least for us, they, they have to be a part or registered with our peer program in order for them to be able to
Okay.
attend.
Makes sense.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Curtis, for this presentation, for these solutions. I know that
Mhm.
we can continue to explore solutions, and I know that you're navigating some tough waters right now, and a lot of it is out of your control, but again, we're willing to work with you and support whatever creative, innovative solutions you can come up with just to capture those students that we can bring to our campus that are waiting. So thank you so much.
Agreed, ditto. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Johnson. With that, we can move on to item F with Mr. Quintana regarding our upcoming election. So the floor is yours, Mr. Quintana.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. At this point, we wanted to make a request to adopt a resolution ordering for calling of a special election to be held in November, authorizing the sale, lease, and exchange of properties. Specifically, with this recommendation resolution, we're asking for the authorization to be able to sell or lease our in-out facility, our Monterey Park facility, ASU prep facility, our plant service and bus yard, as well as Booker T. Washington facility. And we have the resolution that we provided to you, and we also have a Mr. Jim Gill that's available to us if we have questions about the resolution. And with that, we wanted to ask the board to to adopt the resolution this evening.
Thank you very much. Any discussion from our board? Hearing none, I have read through it. I've looked over the sites and I am good with it. There are just a few small points, clarifying an address and then a sentence on here, but I am open to approving with these small revisions. I'm not too sure on the wording that would be best to use, but I'm also not sure who the wording, I guess, items to clarify would go to, if that would be our attorneys.
Yeah, the
Or-
attorney, Mr. Gill, and also his assistant Jennifer would help us with the corrections. I made a note of those. For example, the address we have for the district is incorrect. And so we're going to make that change before it gets submitted.
Okay,
And
that's
so
why I just want to make
they
sure
will help
whatever
us
we
make those
motion, we're
corrections.
good to go, and then whatever we sign is definitely the final version.
Yes,
Okay,
that's correct.
good. Dr. Vink, any concerns on your end? And if I can't hear you, please feel free to send me an email or a message of some sort.
I'm still here, Madam Chair. I don't have any additional questions.
Awesome. Okay, well, with that, do we have a motion to approve our resolution?
Reggie Carrillo, I motion to approve.
Alicia Vink, I second.
Thank you. Ms. Merriman, would we please have a roll call vote to approve item F1?
Carmen Trujillo,
Aye.
Reggie Carrillo,
Aye.
Alicia Vink,
Aye.
With that, our resolution passes and we can move on to our wonderful budget discussion with, I'm assuming, Mr. Norris.
That is correct. Thank you, Madam President. So it's that time of year again to present a proposed budget for this next fiscal year starting on July 1st. So Mr. Norris is going to present the budget and also ask for your approval at the end of the presentation.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, cabinet, and community members listening. I appreciate you guys letting me zoom in tonight, as I would much rather be in front of you guys to present this, but want to go through our proposed budget for the 23-24 school year and answer any questions that you guys may have. And I just want to check to make sure that everybody can hear me before I proceed. Awesome. So a couple things about the budget. The budget process is a very complex budget process, and this year has been more complex than most years. We have just received within the last week an approved budget from the state of Arizona and the legislators downtown, which did not fit with the budget process throughout the normal year. So the numbers that I'm going to share with you are a conservative approach. We are making adjustments based off the approved budget. As you guys may have known, we did have to update the agenda yesterday with new numbers as we were able to make adjustments so that we could come to you with the latest and greatest numbers that we could have. But I do want to just put out there that these numbers will likely change, and I'll try to address those questions or those issues that I see going forward and diving into this. So the budget timing and due dates, as you guys are well aware, we come to you at the beginning of the year around this time, usually a couple weeks earlier, hopefully. And then we come back to you in December and then come back in May. This year, we are being told that we will be required to come back to you in September when the forms come out, which actually the forms, thank you to the Auditor General's office and the state for getting them done so quickly. The official forms were released yesterday, although there have been some issues noted with them. So we could not update them fast enough to get them in front of you guys tonight. So we will have to come back to you in September with the regular forms if these numbers change by a drastic nature, which is about 10%. If they do not change by anything more than 10%, then we are able to carry on through December or to another month, so October or any other month that we choose to do a revision, but we are not going to be required, as previously thought when I put this presentation together, to be here in September no matter what. It will only be if our budget changes by the significant number of 10% or more, which I'm hoping is not going to be the case because we did take a conservative approach and tried to make everything as closest to the pen as I could for this draft budget. So the budgeting process this year has been a little bit different than normal. Myself and Miguel, our budget manager or now accounting and data coordinator, have met with key stakeholders. We have met with all the principals and several of the directors and as many as that we could, as well as cabinet to discuss some of the budget numbers that we are going to propose to you. We've also analyzed and updated staffing needs as you guys just came out of the peer discussion, making sure that we had enough staff allocated to the key areas that we needed to be and that we could continue forward this year without having to make any sort of cuts to programmatic things in nature. We also did additional funding and carry forward reviews and the carry forward funds, and I'll talk about this a little bit as we go forward, will change, and I can explain why in just a little bit. But we also reviewed the current year, so this current year where we are in time, what our expenditures are, and then tried to use that to help us move forward so that we could be in the same area of the budget that we wanted to be in. And then most of all, I've spent a lot of time monitoring the state legislative process and trends, was up all night long with the state as they passed our budget a week ago and trying to figure out what was heads and what was tails so I could come into this meeting with you guys and give you as much information as possible. Due to the pending legislation in Arizona, a lot of it has been signed, but some of it hasn't been assigned. And the late approval of the school budgets, districts are using draft forms. This is the second year that we've actually had to do this. Last year, you guys, those that were here, will remember Janice coming or Mr. Quintana coming up and talking about draft forms. And that is because the official forms were not released in time for us to prepare them. The draft forms are actually the same forms that we used in fiscal year 21-22. The files have been updated by myself as well as our outside consultants to incorporate as many of the changes as we possibly can. And then the draft forms are used to meet the statutory requirements for us as a school district to have a completed budget and a budget approved by July 15th. These budgets are going to be referred to as the best educated approximation to the best of our abilities. And that is actually a direct quote from the Auditor General's office in one of their webinars. But I do believe that we have formulated this down to a pretty good amount here. So going through this, items that are affecting the budget, maintenance and operation, this is what the budget that you guys are going to be approving, the proposed budget tonight. Maintenance and operations, our ADM continues to decline. Our current budget that we're presenting to you tonight holds our ADM flat to where we were at the end of the school year. Looking at trends and looking at different times in history and some of the demographics and so forth of the district, we do believe that this may be a flat year. But however, I want to caution people, our district, for whatever reason, is kind of different than all other districts, but we usually start off the year with a lower ADM or enrollment as well, and then build up all the way through Christmas time, which is not a bad problem to have. It's much easier to forecast that than it is to forecast a decline in the same period, which other districts have to do. This budget does include the salary increases that were approved by the board, which does lead to higher costs, of course, but with the new numbers from the state, it shows that our forecasting and our projections on how we would sustain those going forward were correct, and that's very good news. And then slight increases in the benefits year over year. They're actually really a wash, but that is one of the watch outs that one of the consultants said that is something to watch. And this will be the case as we move forward in future years as well, that there will be a slight increase in benefits just like everywhere else. Desegregation funds, they remain consistent per statute, so they will not change. And that's 11.1 million in the M&O fund and then $50,000 into capital. The capital budget decrease, and this is tied to ADM as well as lower carry forward because we're doing some capital projects as well. Our capital budget will decrease by about 20%, and that is on par with the last few years of the ADM decline in the district. If we do hold to a flat ADM this year or potentially even increase our ADM a little bit, then that would stop that slide. But with the bond capacity that we're looking to seek this year, this is not a concern at this point. Continuing on, our 2015, our last bond that we had issued, our balance is currently about 4.1 million in that fund. We do have about $2 million worth of projects that are considered that consist of facility upgrades. The copiers phase 1, which I believe, if my memory serves me correct, was brought to the board the last board meeting for approval, and then furniture upgrades. And this in this number would be the furniture upgrades that you guys approved last year, almost this time last year for Shaw. They're now getting installed, and then there's also furniture upgrades that are taking place that you approved tonight to Edison, and that is all part of that $2 million in there. So we'll be at about 2.1 or just shy of $2 million when all is said and done. Federal programs, grants, and entitlements are really being applied for and currently being figured out. Most grants run on October 1st through September 30th year, which does not run parallel with our budgets anymore. It used to be that they did, but now the federal grants and all the federal money wants it to be on the federal year. And so that's stretching a little bit further in. So we'll have an update on federal programs and the grant money that we should be expecting here in the next couple of board meetings for you. So part of the budget analysis was looking at ADM. And so we went back all the way to the 2012-2013 school year, all the way through 2021-2022, which is our current school year. We're looking at a 278 ADM decline from last year to this year. But from 2012 to 2022, it's important to note that we're down just shy of 2,000 ADM throughout that time period. This is an area of concern and something that we should be looking at. I do know that our marketing department, as well as other areas, are diving into this and trying to find solutions, and as well as programs like Peer and other programs that we can bring to the district or boost up in the district will help. And so this is something that we need to watch and something that we have to be concerned of, but is not something that's a huge alarm bell at this time. As you can see, we have gone back to kind of the normal loss, as I'll call it, kind of the average loss that we were seeing previously COVID. But I do believe, based off of enrollments that I'm looking at and based off of the demographics that I was able to pull, that we should be near flat. But keep in mind, if we are flat then or lose the 278 students or more, then our budgetary number will decline as well. And so it's very important to know that the number that I'll share with you here shortly is actually going to hold steady only if we hold the steady the enrollment ADM numbers that I'm showing you here today. We are still seeing a rebound from COVID. It looks like from December to May, we did see an increase in our ADM, which is a positive sign for us as well. So on to the what I'll call the good news is the general budget limit, and this is the budget that is being told that we can set based off the state calculations, the formula fundings, and all the different pieces that go together. Instead of bringing you guys the normal eye charts that I'm accustomed to bringing you guys, I thought it would be much easier to talk about the overall numbers, as well as provide you copies of the eye charts that you guys could take in on your leisure throughout the week that you guys had these. And if you have questions, I can certainly bring those out. But this year we had a budget cap of $53.6 million. Going into 2023, we're going to have an estimated budget of 54.1. That does include some carryover funding, which is money that we did not use in the current year. It was kind of our savings and our buffer to take care of any emergencies that popped up. And that's about $1.5 million that we're carrying forward into 2023. These changes, there are still some changes that are taking place. If you follow the legislative changes, you may have heard that there is now what's called the free reduced lunch weight or the poverty weight that is being added. We have done our best work to estimate what that's going to be. Unfortunately, even in the new forms that they released yesterday, they still haven't figured out how they're going to calculate that. And so we had to basically do a mind collective of all the schools around the state and do our best to guesstimate what that poverty weight is going to be. So that could affect this as well. And then all the other weights that they had changed as well could potentially change this, but we're not talking about moving from 54 to 49 million. This is going to be thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars at certain times, depending on how they weight it. When I designed this slideshow for you, we still had no budget approved. Obviously that's changed. It's actually signed into law now, but we do have some legislative changes that are still pending. And then our carry forward, as with other years, you guys may have heard, we have this period from the end of July or the beginning of July through basically August. That's our encumbrance period. And that's when we in business services, along with all the other departments, really kind of weed out what money is really going to be spent in that remaining time frame, everything that happened before June 30th and back, and then freeing up the funds that we can carry forward. Or maybe a service wasn't done in June like we thought it was going to be, but it's going to be performed in July. That money, even though it rolls forward, it's already accounted for. And so the number kind of changes, but that money's already spoken for. So it's not like we're, basking in the millions of dollars as we would love to be in some cases. So the 54.16 or 54.1, I'm sorry, is a very conservative number. I do believe it is going to change, or I know it will change, but I believe we're going to be in the same ballpark of the 54.1. And that's where I'm very confident that we're going to have our budget limit at for this year. Moving on to expenditures, kind of wanted to show you where we are at currently for the year. In 2022, we had a budget of 53.6. I can't even read my own handwriting. Sorry, 53.6, I believe is what I had written down. And we're spending that 52.2. And the remainder is going to be the carry forward coming over into the 2023 school year at 54.1. We did have the increased funding by the state. This was predicted. by myself, Mr. Quintana, and Dr. Diaz as we talked through the salary increases that you guys put through, the approximately $3 million. We were counting on certain things to come from the state. One would be a 2% inflationary factor, as well as potential other factors that were going to come through. And that did offset that $3 million in salary increases. And when I say offset, it just makes them sustainable moving forward into the future, and allows us to continue and not have to scramble to reduce things or try to find ways to save money in that realm of things. And then again, I can't say it enough, the projection, that 54.1, the biggest mover of that 54.1 is going to be ADM. If we see a decline in ADM, that will take our budget level down. And that's when you'll see me back here with a whole nother slideshow for you guys to show you what the reduction would have to be. But this is this budget includes staffing at the same current levels as we have today. If a position was vacated last year and held open all year, I still budgeted for it. Similar to when Curtis was up here talking about the peer program. I've not asked him to make any cuts. I've not directed him to make any cuts because I assumed that program was coming back next year and we were still kind of in COVID recovery mode. And that's why we wanted to continue with the same amount of positions that we had previously budgeted for. And I worked with Dr. Diaz as well on that. And so the budget by major program, the distribution of funds follows historic budget and spending for PESD. If I pull up any budget, the distribution of all the funds for the last 5 years looks exactly like this. We're spending 57% of it in regular education, with exceptional student services at 17%. Desegregation accounts for the 21%, and then pupil transportation is 4%, followed by the 1% in K-3 reading, and that's because that is such a small budget compared to the rest of the budget. Major takeaways. The legislature was late. We did monitor it. Like I said, I was up all night a week and a couple days ago watching it and trying to figure out what was heads and tails. The approved state budget was late. It was also late signed, unfortunately, due to the governor being ill, from what I've been told. New student weights and estimated weights are in the draft forms. We put those in here to estimate as close as we possibly can. Base funding was updated in the draft forms, but the biggest risk that we have, and I'll be pounding my drum probably now till October, November, is AEL. And I know we all thought that was going to go away and be taken care of in this budget process by the state, and unfortunately they left that on the table. So AEL is going to be an issue, which does affect our budget and will affect our budget greatly if they don't do an override to it again this year. And then I was asked by somebody, and so I put this in here, why do we have to do budgets if there's so many questions up in the air? And really the budgets are required. We're required to pass a budget by July 15th every year. And so even if they didn't have a budget in place from the state, we were still preparing what we thought were estimated budgets to bring to you guys, because by statutory law, we have to have them in place by July 15th. So action needed tonight is a motion to approve the proposed budget as presented. And then future action, and I apologize because of the board meeting dates and the budgets, I am actually not going to be here, but Mr. Quintana is going to come back to you on July 14th for a motion to approve the proposed budget as presented and adopt that budget. And so these budgets will change and always do change, and I will bring them back to you every time that they do for your guys' approval. But at this point, we're looking at a very, very good point for next year, as long as ADM stays flat at 54.1 million. And we continue to be able to provide services to the students and to the community around us with the budgets that we have in place. And at this time, I'll open it up if any of you guys have any questions that I can answer.
Thank you, Damon, for that breakdown of the budget. In terms of talking about the budget that was passed, I just want your opinion. And is there any glimmer of hope for the budget in terms of helping with our financial challenges? From when I looked at it, I glanced at it, it seemed to be higher, but I don't know if that's going to impact us.
Yeah, if you're asking for my opinion, I'll give you my opinion first. I do think that that it does help us. And that's evident. I mean, we should not be at 54.1 if you follow the trends of historical budget passing in this state. So we did see some extra money, which is really good. It helps us offset some of the expenses that we knew we were going to have to eat into some of our savings on, which were some of those salary increases that we passed this last board meeting. But so it is good. We did take some increases there. Is it enough? I don't think it's enough. There's also the threat too that we have currently going right now, and I forgot the number now that I want to say it. There's a House bill that does do the ESAs for every student, and that's a huge threat to enrollment and ADM, and that was not something we were banking on this year, passing the House, and so that's a huge threat to not only us but to charter schools, as they can take students from our school and give them $6,000, I think, is the base rate to go to a private school, and so it can be used for computers and transportation and everything. At this point, and there's no restrictions on who can get an ESA now. So that is a plausible threat to the district. And so, I'm not sure if the extra money that they gave us will offset any losses that we may see based off of that ESA account. But time will tell, and everybody's kind of, including ASBO and all the experts are kind of scratching their heads trying to figure out what the impact is going to be of that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I took a long pause thinking Dr. Vink might need to double dutch in here. How you doing, Dr. Vink?
I am still here and always appreciate a presentation from Mr. Norris. Thank you for clarity. And I appreciate your opinion on the budget as well. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Ditto, I agree. It's always nice to understand things as you're going along, and the more you present, the more fluid things get. So I really appreciate the effort and the explanation, Mr. Norris. So what I'm hearing is we need to boost enrollment numbers as well. Not only not lose kids, but also bring them in. Will that help us at all?
Yeah, so I mean, the trick is we have to increase enrollment, but then once we increase enrollment, we have to make sure the students are actually attending class, because it's, the average daily membership is a measurement of how many kids are in the seats every day. And so, we have pretty healthy enrollment, not going to lie. I mean, we have pretty healthy enrollment. If we can reduce absenteeism as well and increase some enrollment that way, that all helps our ADM numbers. So even if we can reduce absenteeism with the kids that we have now, it will boost our ADM up, in significant ways. And then if you bring in more students and they're here more often as well, it's all good things for us to have the students in the seat. Benefits them, it benefits us for financial reasons to be able to support them more with them here. But ultimately, the more the kids are in the seat, the better education they get as well. And we know PESD has an awesome education. We just need the kids that may not be here all the time to be here so that they can take advantage of that.
Agreed, especially after the struggles we've all been going through. So thank you for the plug. I really appreciate it. I don't have any further questions. All right. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda? The budget as presented?
Reggie Carrillo, I motion to approve the budget.
Thank you.
Alicia Vink, I second.
Thank you, Dr. Vink. Any further discussion? Hearing none, may we please have a roll call vote when you're ready, Ms. Miriam?
Carmen Trujillo,
Aye.
Reggie Carrillo,
Aye.
Alicia Vink,
Aye.
All right, with that, our motion does pass. Thank you all very much. And we can move on to our purchase order. issuance for Saxton Bradley. Will that be with you, Mr. Quintana?
Yes, yes, thank you, Madam President. And also I want to thank Mr. Norris for doing a great job. First of all, preparing the budget and also presenting it. So thank you, Mr. Norris. On this particular item, it's a celebration, I think, for the district. We are making some more headway in refurnishing all the schools. And in this case, we're asking for the board to approve the purchase of classroom furniture for Edison. And also to let you know that that the staff did a great job with the leadership of Mr. Fuentes there as a new principal in getting all the staff involved, teachers involved with the vendor to pick up the furniture they wanted, they felt they needed to make their, to really furnish the school as best they can. So this proposal is to furnish the entire school with classroom furniture and to the tune of $484,000. And we're asking for the board to approve for us to issue a PO so that we can get this furniture in place. And right now, we're trying to put the furniture in place during the summer. And ideally to either put all the furniture in by the start of school or the majority of the furniture by the beginning of the school year.
I have one quick question, Mr. Quintana. In the rationale, it says that we have 4 schools remaining, so I'm wondering if, well, it lists 3, so what would be the 4th school, the one that we are, because I see Edison listed on here, so I'm just wondering which other one we might have, or if that might just been a miscalculation.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I think that's a typo. We have once we furnish Edison, we will have Kenilworth. That will be the only one that needs to be furnished. So we have one more to go.
Okay, great. Thank you for the clarification.
Does this include furnishing for Kenilworth for the family center?
No, this is strictly just the furniture for Edison.
Hearing no other discussion, do we have a motion to approve the issuance of a PO for Saxton Bradley?
Reggie Carrillo, I motion to approve.
Alicia Vink, I second.
Thank you both. Ms. Mira, may we please have a roll call vote to approve, to decide on this?
Carmen Trujillo,
Aye.
Reggie Carrillo,
Aye.
Alicia Vink.
Aye.
Thank you very much. With that, our motion passes and we can move on to item G1 for our second readings. Thank you, Mr. Quintana.
Nice job, guys. Madam Chair, members of the governing board, don't these guys do wonderful work at budget time? Trying to do yeoman's work when our state lawmakers can't seem to get it together?
Agreed.
Just had to give that little dig to our state lawmakers. Madam Chair, members of the governing board, we are asking for your adoption of second read of policies that were brought to you in June. I have not heard any questions or concerns from any governing board members. Should the governing board adopt these policies this evening, they will be embedded into our policy manual.
Thank you, Dr. Weeks. I don't have any further questions. I am really excited about these and the goal that we have to have all of our policies reviewed by 2025. So I am in favor.
Same, I'm excited, especially with the definitions and especially with the influx of books we got from the consular center. So yes, I support this.
Hearing no further discussion, may we please have a roll call vote to approve the policies, Ms. Miriam? Oh.
Madam Chair, do we need a motion in a second? Did we get a motion in a second already?
Not
we'll
yet.
do
Reggie's
that.
looking at me like, hello. My apologies. Do we have a motion to approve our policies?
Reggie Carrillo, I motion.
Thank you.
Alicia Vink, I second.
Thank you very much, Ms. Miriam. May we please have a roll call vote?
Carmen Trujillo,
Aye.
Reggie Carrillo,
Aye.
Alicia Vink,
Aye.
Thank you very much. With that, our motion passes. Congratulations, guys. That was pretty fluid and smooth. With that, we can move on to item H1, any board reports or requests? Quickly, I wanted to touch on our recent trip to Chicago. We had a really wonderful, informative time at the NALEO event, but I really would like to have that discussion with Ms. Bueno here, so hopefully we can give an update of some sort when she gets back. So any other board reports or requests?
So we're gonna wait on the NALEO. That's fine with me. I just want to make sure. No, it's fine. For me, it's just attending, seeing the AZ on Track summer program, and especially, so I'm just so thankful for those schools that participated in hosting that for our student population. Especially right now as we're having the discussions about peer program, of which we will continue to welcome feedback from our community to just, again, co-strategize how we can best bring this forward to our community, the peer program, but taking it back to AZ on Track. Again, a big thank you to our teachers, to the staff, to everybody who has been involved in making sure those programs are being hosted. I had the pleasure of taking a tour with Dr. Gonzalez to Dunbar, where we walked in, and that day had been a particular tough morning for me with my own professional work. And so to be able to walk in and not being a teacher, and like I told Dr. Gonzalez, you know the world's burning around, or sometimes it may feel that way. And then you walk into these class and you see students singing, just living a joyous life and living in the moment. And again, that brings you back to why we're here, why we're doing what they're doing, so that these students can have a wonderful, happy childhood. They can be educated, and they can look back, like when they're my age or Carmen's age, or when they're older, and they can look back and say, you know what, Phoenix, I had a wonderful time there. I went to that school and I participated in the whiz play. There was a vocal coach there, and they just started singing, and again, it was just pure joy, pure magic. And a big thank you to Dr. Weeks. They raved about you, Dr. Weeks, how you made it easy for them, and I love that. And we should never be gatekeepers to our community. And they just talked about how you were so supportive, and just making sure that it was easy for them to step on that campus, because they had been looking for a place to host their student population. And this is a Gal Patch, from what I've learned, is very ingrained in our community and is a definite partnership I want to continue. But again, thank you for hosting this community, strengthening our after-school program, our summer school programming on top of what we already do for summer school. And on top of that, thank you to the Emerson school community, Mr. Avilad, right? I keep thinking Avilad, for taking us on a tour for Emerson, and that was hosted by, can you remind me, Dr. Gonzalez?
The partnership we're working with there is G Road.
Giro, okay, so Giro, and what we saw was just multiple types of program happening. We saw the circus happening, circus activities happening, painting, working with modeling with gardening, and then Photoshop. I've never done Photoshop, so it's great to walk in and see these kids like putting themselves in backgrounds with like jungles and panthers and dogs, and that was beautiful to see. So they're making a film, which I hope we can see. But just during this time, it's great to walk in and see that we're providing that for our community, what we can for our community. And then another thing I wanted to talk about was NALEO, just in brief, but I want to explain more. It was a wonderful informative session, so I want to thank just everyone behind that who planned for us to go to that conference, because it is only, for me, it is only my second year. We didn't get to do anything that first year because of COVID, and so I want to be very intentional about the conferences that we do go to. And so while we may be trying a lot this year, I know next year that is definitely one of the ones that I want to continue going to, just because of the networking that we get to meet with board members, other board members, elected officials, And then the sessions too about ESSER funding, about school infrastructure. And so thank you to the staff that planned that, Miriam, Damon, Mr. Quintana, for planning that trip and making it easier for us, and then continue to work on just that progress of what the logistics look like when we do go on those conferences. So thank you, because it was a wonderful experience for us.
Thank you, Mr. Carrillo, for sharing all of those bright spots. Can you hear me? Yes, okay, good. I just had two things, and unfortunately, they're not as bright as Mr. Carrillo's sentiments today. But the first is a request for information on our Maricopa County COVID status and the CDC guidelines. And then the second is just, I feel the need to say something about, it feels like every time we come here, there's some big fire in our country, and here we are again. And I just want to reiterate my support for our families and our Phoenix L community, our staff, our teachers, who may be struggling to process the recent events in our country and be adversely affected by our federal and state leaders' decisions. I do support you, and I support our district offering whatever we can, and continued social emotional learning and staff in our schools to support our students. So that is all I had. Thank you.
And then I want to add one more thing. Thank you, Dr. Vink, for that. I want to add one more thing to Garfield too. Thank you to the Garfield School Community, Principal Bernal, Jessica Page, the Mullen Foundation, partnering with AZLAN, partnering with ASU CAP LTER, which stands for Conservation Alliance Project, Long-Term Ecological Research. And with that, the community at Garfield, with the Garfield on the corner, is running a research experience for teachers program. So we're partnering with a teacher from Garfield who's picking a research topic on hydro climate and focusing on through the lens of environmental justice and racism, and seeing how our communities are shaped, and focusing on a research topic. So it's more tied to environmental science. And that's going to be a year long. So at the end of in June, they'll be doing a symposium with what they and their students researched, but those are research skills that should be trickled down to the teacher, to the students, and onto the community, so that they can learn about these issues. They know these issues, but it's just providing them the extra skills to be able to research these issues endemic in their community, and be able to advocate and identify ways to do call to action, to strategize, to change their community that they're living up and growing in. So thank you, Principal Bernal, for just being so open to that partnership. It was wonderful to take the teachers, to take the researchers. There's two researchers whose expertise range from food deserts, mapping local food sources, and environmental development. And so those are the researchers we're working with, and they're the ones that are going to be guiding them through these research methodologies. And after that, they went to the Sagrado. They went to go do a tour of the Rio Salado to understand segregation, the environmental health disparities, living next to a highway, landfills, and all that. But we did that this week. Was it this week? We did that last week. So it was Monday through Thursday, and it was wonderful. And I can't wait to see what the impact is on our school community. And then in terms of board requests, my request is just following up on the peer, what strategies, what solutions we're implementing, especially those that are being offered up by our community. I'm so appreciative to our community because they're very thoughtful in those solutions and serving parents, seeing what demand is. A lot of what we talked about, but a lot of that was put forth by our community, and I want to continue to encourage our community to help us strategize and get through this, and so we can best support you and offer the programming that you need for our working families, our families in general. And then I think a board update on just continuing what does the budget, those beneficial impacts from the budget. And I know we got a brief snippet today from our expert here, Damon and Mr. Quintana, but I just want to continue to just stay on top of that so we know like what curveballs are going to be thrown ahead of us, especially with the universal vouchers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carrillo. I share all the sentiments regarding our trip, and I also want to make sure that we asked if we are actually, or request that we are become official members of NALEO, because there were so many people walking around with membership like tags or recognition of some sort, and ours didn't have any, so I wasn't sure if we are actually members of NALEO. So
Part of being part of the trip, the conference was to become a member. So you are a member. I'm not sure why
okay,
a tag wasn't put
that
on.
was just going to be a request. So thank you very much, Ms. Miriam, for the clarification. And to touch on Dr. Vink's acknowledgement of the recent federal decision attacking women's rights, I do want to raise the point that, or at least make a request that our district make our feminine hygiene products more available, or at least maybe give an idea of what that looks like, what goes on for our older students that might be going through certain transitions as we go through puberty through the older grades. So I'm not too sure what feminine products look like in our district right now, but I would like to know what that looks like and help support making those resources available to our students and or their families. So that was one thing I wanted to add. If there's no further board requests, we can move on to item H2. So after Mr. Carrillo's done.
Sorry, it just keeps coming back to me. It's just been so
Right.
busy. But thankfully, thank you to Paloma with the Family Engagement Center. I know she's already doing great work spearheading with Dr. Gonzalez, the Family Empowerment Center, and she's really doing a great job just reaching out to community partners, even those right next to our own school community. And she worked with me to connect with Transco Pueblo. They have a green space that is open to the community. They partner with the city of Phoenix, got grant funding from that, but they're right next to Garfield. It's a place where families can come and just relax if they're walking the neighborhood, especially when we live in a heat island. But at this time, they also have programming for Spanish-speaking mothers or just monolingual mothers, immigrants who come here and just want to understand the education system better, but also find ways to communicate with their children, regardless of what their identities are, right? What their backgrounds are, and whoever they become to be. But it's just supporting them and helping with that language to communicate with not just their children, but with their teachers. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like to be able to engage those parents so that they can feel safe and secure and know that we're providing those nuanced resources, especially for them, right? All parents need that kind of resources to help them communicate better, but especially our parents who are having and trying to navigate language issues. So I also wanted to mention that I give a thank you to Paloma. And then I apologize, but I also want to thank Dr. Gonzalez. I had failed to include her in that, but I know we're building our partnerships, and that's why I ran for board. That's why we have all those partnerships in our own backyard, and I'm thankful that we're at a point where we're starting to utilize those or increase those.
Thank you, Mr. Carrillo. You also did remind me of another comment, board report I wanted to acknowledge, and that is Ms. Paloma for the connection that brought the opportunity for Dr. Weeks to receive those donations on behalf of the governing board in the district for our students. So those resources will grow into a partnership to provide things like ESL classes, health and wellness, more focus on literacy, and in exchange, they'll be able to communicate and connect with our community and be a resource for them as well. So I think it's a great partnership that Miss Paloma planted a seed for, and I know she's moving on to other things, but we really do appreciate the time and effort that went into that. So thank you again to the Mexican consulate and again to Paloma and Dr. Weeks for making that happen. And with that, we can move on to future agenda items.
Not a future agenda item, but a board update on all education. When Dr. Diaz is ready to prepare that. I'm not in rush, but I know that we just want to see where we stand with it and with that programming.
And I would like a discussion at least on what plans are going on for over the summer with the ever-changing, as Dr. Vink noted, that the Maricopa County is, according to the CDC, now in a high, I'm not too sure what to call it, but our COVID cases have risen. So I do want to at least start that discussion as early as possible, because August is right around the corner on what it looks like for our district when the CDC starts making different adjustments and recommendations. So we stay well ahead of that. And other than that, that's all I've got. How about you, Dr. Vink? I know you shook your head no, but I just wanted to check because you never know what thoughts can be triggered. So
I'm good, thank you.
hearing,
I had, in terms of just tacking on to what you said, it's just for July back to school is thinking about what, if we're going to be hosting any vaccination drives or partnering with anybody. I know we did last year. I know we did a great job. And again, thank you for what we did with COVID. But I just would like for us to continue to provide that if we can for free with whoever can partner with us for COVID, but also like the flu or whatever our parents need for their children to be safe and healthy.
that's right. We did have just the younger children now added and able to get their vaccination. So that makes me think again about something. Can we also have a board update or an agenda item regarding what our enrollment plan looks like for the summer? I'm not too sure what we've got going on, but if there are enrollment events going on, maybe partnering those up with vaccine events would be helpful. But other than that, that's all I've got. With that, let's move on to adjournment. If there's no further discussion, I do want to say, Dr. Weeks, it's been fun. It's been eventful. And like you said earlier, we're not the same people we were when we started our journey here at the district. So thank you for the mentorship. It's been a fun up and down roller coaster learning how things go during a pandemic with no manual of how that's supposed to go. So I do appreciate the leadership, not only during the pandemic, but I think it's extra special, those struggles that we face together. So I do appreciate everything you've done. I wish you a happy retirement. And after everyone else, if you would like to even speak, we can move on to adjournment. I didn't want to do that without saying a good night to Dr. Weeks and a happy retirement.
Yeah. Same thing. Thank you, Dr. Weeks. We ran for school board, and I know I was in the mindset of like, there's all these challenges, and like me thinking like individually was like, I had to fix this, but really quickly, I was assured that it was not an I game, it's a we game. It's a, like, and I'm glad I stepped onto, I'm gonna use the metaphor, a boat with, who had a captain, and you kept your cool throughout everything. Yes, you're very passionate, and I love that about you. But it's just that you kept your cool throughout everything that we've been through. And where I'm in my head, it's that scene where like everything's burning in the SpongeBob scene. They're running around. But it was just nice to turn to you, our leader, and see that you're calm, collected, and you were always very, very understanding, vulnerable with sharing your own personal stories with us to get us through these moments, but also just reminding us to stay calm, that we're going to get through this, that we have each other to rely on, that we have wonderful staff who are already thinking about options and solutions and strategizing for all the challenges that we have faced. For me in our second year together, but I know you've been doing that for a long time already with Phoenix Al. So thank you, because to President Trujillo's words, you have been an unofficial mentor for me, a school leader for me, especially being a new board member. And I have learned so much from you, from your wisdom. And I'm thankful that I stepped into this role with having a superintendent such as yourself. And I'm sad to see you go, but you deserve it. You deserve that liberation. You deserve that retirement. You've done so much for our school, for our first district here in Arizona. So thank you.
Well, thank you for your kind words. I really appreciate it. It's been my joy and my honor. And good luck to you all. You know, one of the things that the communities may forget from time to time is that board members are people. And we're all part of the Phoenix Elementary family, trying to come together to do the very best that we can for students' safety and success. And I admire you for the work that you do, and I hope you continue it for a long time, because it's important work. The work matters. The kids need you, so please consider keeping it up.
I don't think I have any more words. You've all said so much, and I am grateful for the time that we've spent together, both as a board member and as a parent in the district. As you see, my second grader is quite busy and in Phoenix L, and thankful for the leadership that you've given to our staff, and this new journey for all of us. So I wish you well. Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, with that, do we have a motion to adjourn our meeting?
Reggie Carrillo, I motion.
Alicia Finker, second.
Thank you. May we please have a roll call vote to adjourn our meeting this evening?
Carmen Trujillo,
Aye.
Reggie Carrillo,
Aye.
Alicia Vink.
Aye.
Thank you. With that, the motion passes, and we will adjourn at 8:12 p.m. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Our next regular session governing board meeting is scheduled for July 14th at 6:15 p.m. here at the district and online. Thank you all. Have a great night.